This week, C-SPAN was on the campaign trail with 2024 presidential candidates. We'll hear from GOP hopefuls Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis in Iowa, Christie in Washington, D.C., and on a trip to Israel, and former President Trump, Republican Vivek Ramaswamy, and Democratic presidential challenger Representative Dean Phillips, who were all in New Hampshire. First, a few minutes with Spencer Kimball. He's the executive director of the Emerson College Polling Center and told us about a recent poll showing Nikki Haley notching a surge of support among New Hampshire Republicans.
Yeah, in our New Hampshire poll, we see former President Donald Trump at 49%, and that's where he was back in August. But underneath what we see is Nikki Haley jumping into second place, and she kind of surged over both Christie, Ron DeSantis, and even Vivek Ramaswamy over the last couple of months. And so she's now at 18%.
And would you say that she's the big winner in this poll?
Yeah, I would say at this time, Trump is a winner because his numbers are holding, but Haley is a clear winner because now she has become the alternative to Trump. And for the last year or so, we've been talking about Ron DeSantis as the alternative to Trump, and that conversation might start changing.
Are you seeing softening on DeSantis' support anywhere else in the country as well?
Yeah, we've seen DeSantis's numbers drop pretty much across the board, from Ohio out to California. But obviously, Iowa is a key state, and those numbers are holding at this time for DeSantis, though obviously what we've seen in New Hampshire is a drop of about 10 points in the last couple of months. Trump has still got his base of support with those without college degrees, those under the age of 50, very strong within the Republican field. There's also not much of a gender divide on that Republican field. So even though Nikki Haley is the only female in the race, she's polling about the same of the male and female vote. You might think that she would do better amongst women voters, but at this time, she's doing about the same.
Nikki Haley also saw a bump in a recent Des Moines Register NBC News poll earlier this month that showed her pulling even with Republican rival Ron DeSantis among Iowa Republicans. Both of them were in Iowa over the past few days after Senator Tim Scott made this surprise announcement on Fox News.
I love America more today than I did on May 22nd. But when I go back to Iowa, it will not be as a presidential candidate. I am suspending my campaign. I think the voters who are the most remarkable people on the planet have been really clear that they're telling me not now, Tim. I don't think they're saying, Trey, no, but I do think they're saying not now. And so I'm going to respect the voters, and I'm going to hold on and keep working really hard and look forward to another opportunity.
The Des Moines Register reported that for Iowa Republicans supporting Tim Scott, 25% named Nikki Haley as their second choice, and 23% named Ron DeSantis. Here's Nikki Haley in Waverly, Iowa, speaking with voters at a veterans club.
Haley turned the pledge, and we're going to sign it with it. We're going to give you all of that so y'all can see it for yourselves and comment, or otherwise they're going to have to sign that pledge. And if they don't sign it, it's all the answer to these. I think we just need to listen and really see Brandon say. They're going to have you come this way. Hi, how are you? So good to see you.
Hi, I saw you last time I was in town. Got your picture taken. We worked for you at the state fair. We were in your booth with Love.
Thank you, Dave.
I love it.
Hey guys, we're gonna have you come this way.
No one appoints him.
Thank you. 1, 2, 3.
I'm not working on my stupid trumpets. We need you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
you very much.
Thank you for your question. I have that sweater. Let's go. So glad you know. I know where you're going because my kids, like I get it, and it's scary. You hear people constantly talk about what is that, but we're actually, the things we're doing will prevent. That's the key, is we don't want to go real time. No. 20-year war. Like, no more. Nobody wins when you do that, when you have those long wars like that. Wonderful. Thank you. Spread the word for us. Thank you. Appreciate it. Hi, how are you? Oh, my goodness. Thank you so much. Thank you. That means you're going to get done. He could win governor shirts up and down the ticket. No sense. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
How are you, sir?
Hi, how are you? Good to see you. Alright guys, we're gonna have you look right for a picture. 1, 2, 3. That's the guy. Okay, thank you. I can't wait.
Nikki, please win.
God bless you for your faith and your no more questions.
Please
I just thought that that's my cousin.
You're awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely. Make sure you get this one around. Okay. Bless her. Thank you. We tell her proud of her.
My best side.
I'm so glad you're okay.
Thank you.
No, it shouldn't be as hard as it is.
Yeah,
I mean, you're doing it, honestly, and we've got to make it.
Yes.
My son-in-law is a teacher too.
It's getting wilder out there. It's getting wilder.
That's what we're losing.
Our face has now been updated since 2001. Like, do you know how much has happened since 2001?
We'll spread the word.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye. Thank you for being here. We're so glad y'all came. Thank you. Thank you. Absolutely. Thank you. Hi, how are you? It's so nice to see you.
I like what you have to say.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You go, girl.
I will. Spread the word for us. Thank you. God bless you. Thank you. Yes. Hi, how are you? So good to see you. Thank you for being here.
Oh, no problem. We're going to have you come over this way.
Thank you so much. Spread the word for us.
Oh, thank you.
Hi, how are you? It's so good to see you.
Very impressed.
Thank you. I'm so glad you came.
Excited until I came here.
Well, good. We're going to work hard to earn it.
1, 2, 3. Okay. Yeah, I think that's right.
Spread the word for us. Thank you. Do you want a picture? Hi, how are you? Good to see you. Thank you for coming.
I am, yeah. No, I'm with you. Oh, I don't deal with that stuff. I'm in security. You gotta talk to, this guy. How are you? You all in? Oh my God.
Yeah, spread the word for us. Hi. Thank you for your question. I'm sure it's great to be back home with family.
Absolutely. Really valuable. And I do have a family friend in India who does pharmaceutical engineering.
Oh,
and he wants to bring
And we should. That's a friend. We got to do it. Thank you. Spread the word for us. Tell us we need you to caucus for us.
We talked about the I want to make money.
Yeah, of course. No, of course. And I mean, it's a good thing. It's with our athletes.
Exactly. And I love working with this person. They're amazing.
Yeah. They're hardworking for sure.
And humble.
Yes.
Thank you for your prayer.
Thank you. Good to see you. Thank you.
Next, we're about 100 miles away from Waverly in Ames, Iowa, the home of Iowa State University. There, Ron DeSantis spoke to Republican voters at Jethro's barbecue restaurant. C-SPAN also caught up with him afterward as he met and took pictures with supporters and spoke to local news reporters.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, so I'm not actually really political. My dad is a huge fan.
Okay.
So I have a weird request.
Okay.
I don't know if you would be able to like say hi to my
Yeah.
dad.
What's his name?
His name's Mark.
I got it.
You got it?
Hey, Mark. Sorry you couldn't make it. I'm asking for your support on caucus night. God bless you, my man. All right.
You are awesome.
That means you got to go caucus with them too, okay?
I will.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah,
Of course.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, good to see you. Thanks so much. Yeah, of course.
I remember months ago after that hurricane in Florida, and I saw the presidential seal on you. I'm like, yeah, fits him well.
Thank you.
There you go.
That was a bad advance by Biden's people. They should not have let me do that. Hey, how you doing?
Pretty good. I was
to
hoping
see
you would talk a little bit about the other Bidenomics, which was millions for Hunter and 10% for the big guy.
Oh, well, for sure. I mean, look, I think that, the Congress, they never actually get it done, so like I think they should pursue it, but it's always talk without any resolution. But I agree with you on it.
He was hoping you would sign these posts, rally signs.
There you go. Whose is this? Is yours?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it. Hey, man. How you doing? Good to see you. Yeah, of course. Gonna go right here.
Right. There you go.
Thank you. Okay.
We'll come right back.
That's my Veterans Day ceremony.
Oh, thanks. Good. Well, I appreciate it. What's your name?
Chase.
Hey, thanks for coming, buddy.
Can I get you to sign this?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, I got a question for him too.
You want to do this?
Yep.
Who's?
I got it. There you go.
All right, that's a good deal. Thanks. How you doing, man? I'm good. Good to see you. How are you doing?
So I was wondering, do you have a plan for struggling EMS agencies in rural America?
It's interesting. I mean, we have done that in Florida. How much the federal government should get involved, I don't know.
It's really a state.
But it's definitely something that we've put resources behind because we've got, like, you go to like Miami-Dade County, it's 2.8 million people. It's like its own state. They have massive resources. We've got a lot of rural counties in Florida, so we at the state level have helped connect so that they're able to do that. But I think it's probably more of a state issue.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks for coming, guys. Yeah, fear the bombers. Who are the bombers? School? Okay. How are you doing? Hey, thanks for coming. Yeah, good to meet you. What's up, buddy? Oh, yeah. I'm going to qualify for residency before now in January 15th. My wife, too, and our kids and everything. So we're going to be here a lot. And I'm here all day tomorrow. And then we will be back next week, too. So, yeah, we're going to do a lot. So it's fun.
Hey, it's nice to meet you. I'm Travis.
Good.
There you go.
All right.
Thanks for coming out.
Yeah, of course. Sir? Yeah, good to see you, buddy. We're going to do it. I need your support. We'll get it done. We'll get it done. Thanks, man.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Good luck to you.
We're going to do it.
No, I've already got it. Because every time I see it, I got to shake his hand.
Right here?
Ready? Yep.
Then I got to go back.
There you go, man. Thank you. Okay. Hey, how you doing, buddy?
Talking to you over here at Iowa State game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, my wife, you had your alligator boots on that day.
Yeah.
So my wife was wanting me to.
What are those? Python?
Yes.
Okay.
You want to actually?
You want to get a picture?
And then I'll get a picture.
So full body.
Full body.
Okay, got it. Noted. Ready? There you go.
But my wife got me some from the Florida Everglades where they get the pythons, but they're way too outlandish. So I just can't do it.
I did have one question.
What's that?
You know, we got Biden in the ATF. What's your best plan on that?
Well, we're going to nuke all that nonsense. That's unconstitutional. With the pistol brace, it's unconstitutional. You cannot do that, make people felons through the bureaucracy.
No, you can't.
So we'll reverse.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Hi,
Hi.
can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Okay, so I totally...
Y'all want a photo? Is this your first? Congrats. What do you do?
What about the people that want to assimilate and play
Oh my gosh.
How are we going to get them there?
Well, I mean, yes, if you play by the rules, you come in legally. Like, of course. But what I've said, legal, it's all about who benefits this country. They don't have a right to come, and it has to benefit us. And there are times when it does, of course. But I don't want to bring in a lot of people like Europe did who reject assimilation. We've got to focus on people that want to assimilate. Because like that, our country's just based on these ideals and principles. If people come in, they don't agree with it, then what are we going to have to unite us? We got to have something to pull us together as a people. So I'd make sure the immigration system, the legal, is focusing on ensuring that assimilation. We used to assimilate. Like when you had like 1890 through 1924, they had big wave from Europe. You had to learn English. You had to do all that. Then it became like, oh, well, you should just be multicultural. No, we should have one American culture that people assimilate to.
Governor Merritt and Silas right here. They're expecting their first baby.
Oh, congratulations. Yeah, okay, right here.
Yeah. Ready? There you go.
Got it?
Couple.
All right.
You, of course, signed the 6-week abortion restriction in your home state. Do you think that could be a vulnerability with you or for you with independent voters or in a general election?
I think these referenda, one pro-life side has very little money. They get outspent. That was a very radical proposal. And Ohio, I think that typically would not have embraced that. But I just think that they just got pummeled in the campaign. And so I've said already publicly, pro-life movement, these referenda have been a whitewash. And I think part of it is that it's an uneven playing field. They're not putting money in. You got to campaign. You got to articulate what you believe in. I don't think most people in Ohio actually want to see abortion up till birth. I don't think that they think that minors should have a constitutional right without parent involvement at all. And some of the things that were in that, I mean, it was pretty extreme.
Governor, you and Nikki Haley report that you raised quite a lot of money after the debate. At what point are you going to call, or will you call, for the other candidates to drop out?
Well, look, I mean, people can do what they want. I mean, I think that it's not my responsibility to do that. I do think that the RNC has indicated the next debate is going to be fewer people, maybe 2 or 3. I think that that's good. I think if you're not in the debate, then you shouldn't have to. Then you're not going to really be able to compete. But there's one candidate that has a path to beat Donald Trump, and that's me. You've got to be able to win voters. Yes, there's some that definitely don't want Trump, and you got to be able to win those. But there's some that are willing to vote for Trump. Maybe they're not dyed in the wool on that. But you've got to compete in that with those conservative voters, and I'm the only one that can do that. And you see it even in the polls that have Trump up. Underlying that shows we have the highest favorability. We have the highest number of saying that they're going to potentially vote for us or considering to vote for us. And that was before the Kim Reynolds endorsement. These endorsements in politics, a lot of them, are overrated. This one is real because she is revered amongst Republicans in this state for the job that she did. And I would say 99% of people showing up to that caucus are going to have a positive view of Governor Kim Reynolds. And I actually saw after the debate, NBC was doing a focus group, and they had a bunch of Iowa caucus goers potential. And I was like, does this endorsement make you more likely to support Governor DeSantis? All of them raised their hand and said yes. So I think that it's a really significant endorsement. I think it shows, it's her signal to Iowa caucus goers, this is a real race. We got to get this one right. And I think you're going to see a lot of good stuff out of us over the next few weeks leading into December and that next debate. And then I've called publicly, we need to do a debate in Iowa. We should do it. We should partner with local media. We should do one that's going to get reach all throughout this state. That is very, very important. And as much as I like Florida and I like Miami, and I was happy to host it as the sitting governor, Florida is not involved in this for many, many months. Iowa's coming. And then after Iowa, we need to do one in New Hampshire. Those should be done. So I hope that they're going to do that. I would have liked to have seen the December one be in Iowa, but hopefully we do have a couple weeks in early January to have a debate in Iowa. But that needs to be done. And the same thing with New Hampshire. Those are the two states in January that are going to vote, and we need to really focus on reaching those voters so that those voters can make a decision. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
The battle between Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis continued in their fundraising and spending, with Ms. Haley's campaign announcing a $10 million television, radio, and digital ad blitz targeting Iowa and New Hampshire voters. Next, 2 ads her super PAC is running in those states, and one from Ron DeSantis' super PAC.
Iran has said the easiest way to get into America is through the southern border. We don't need to wait for another 9/11.
Nikki Haley, strength again for America.
We have to secure the border. Instead of catch and release, let's go to catch and deport. We need to make sure we put 25,000 more Border Patrol and ICE agents on the ground and let them do their job.
Nikki Haley, she'll close the border before it's too late.
America needs to wake up.
SFA Fund Inc. is responsible for the content of this advertisement.
Absolutely going to frack.
False. DeSantis is lying. Just listen.
You also support a ban of fracking.
Yeah.
DeSantis wants $1 billion to brace the state of Florida for the impacts of climate change.
When President wanted to do offshore drilling, I opposed him on it.
You also support a ban of fracking.
Yeah.
Ron DeSantis. He's lying because he's losing. SFA Fund Inc. is responsible for the content of this advertisement.
A huge issue that I'll deal with as soon as I get there is social media. When I get into office, the first thing we have to do, social media account. The first thing I'm going to do is go to those social media companies. Social media has become a national security issue. That's, first of all, it's a national security threat. This is a national security threat. We need our social media companies to verify everybody. Every person on social media should be verified by their name. Every person on social media needs to be verified. They need to verify every single person on their outlet. When you do that, all of a sudden people have to stand by what they say, and I want it by name. And look, you can put smug in parentheses, but I want everybody's name. We need to know exactly who they are, and they need to show their own name. And then you're going to get some civility when people know their name is next to what they say, and they know their pastor and their family member is going to see it. It's the same reason why I think doxing, you should stand by what you say. But I want everybody's name.
Meanwhile, former President Donald Trump made headlines for a Veterans Day speech in Claremont, New Hampshire. There, he called his political foes vermin, which drew comparisons to dictators in World War II-era Europe. Here's the last few moments of that speech.
2024 is our final battle. With you at my side, and you've been at my side from the beginning, we will demolish the deep state. We're going to expel those horrible, horrible warmongers from our government. They want to fight everybody. They want to kill people all over the place, places we've never heard about before. Places that want to be left alone. We will drive out the globalists. We will cast out the communists, Marxists, fascists. We will throw off the sick political class that hates our country. We will rout the fake news media until they become real. We will evict Joe Biden from the White House, and we will finish the job that we started better than anybody has ever started a job before. The great silent majority is rising like never before, and under our leadership, the forgotten man and woman will be forgotten no longer. You're going to be forgotten no longer. With your help, your love, and your vote, we will put America first. And today, especially in honor of our great veterans on Veterans Day, we pledge to you that we will root out the communists, Marxists, fascists, and the radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country, that lie and steal and cheat on elections and will do anything possible. They'll do anything, whether legally or illegally, to destroy America and to destroy the American dream. The real threat is not from the radical right The real threat is from the radical left, and it's growing every day, every single day. The threat from outside forces is far less sinister, dangerous, and grave than the threat from within. Our threat is from within, because if you have a capable, competent, smart, tough leader, Russia, China, North Korea, they're not going to want to play with us. And they didn't. Despite the hatred and anger of the radical left lunatics who want to destroy our country, we will make America great again. Thank you, New Hampshire. God bless you. God bless you all. Thank you. God bless you all. Thank you.
Fellow Republican presidential hopeful Vivek Ramaswamy was also in New Hampshire over the past week. C-SPAN caught up with him in Hillsborough, where he was meeting with GOP voters at a golf club.
Did you want to take some macaroni and cheese? I might get you a to-go container if you do. Hey, you want some macaroni and cheese for the road there?
Hey, where is it?
It's right down there. I can get you a container and you can take
It'll
it
probably
to go.
take a little bit to go. Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, I mentioned to your guy, he's going to tell you about my coffee line. I want to do a brand for you.
Oh, that's awesome.
A tribute one. So
Thank you.
I already got him talking. He's going to whether or not I need official approval to use your likeness or not. But
okay,
it's
talk to Mike and he'll connect you
in
with
my
the right
icon
people.
series.
I love that,
because
man.
Young people like
I
you,
love
we
his
need
enthusiasm.
more of you.
We need, the next 60 days, we need your energy to spread this message in the state. That's what's going to get the job done. Hey guys, how you doing, guys?
All right, good.
Good to be here, guys.
Alabama's going to win.
Are they? All right. I'm an Ohio State guy, so.
I know you are.
Yeah. Born and raised. Yeah.
She wants to take a picture.
Thank you.
You're so handsome.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you. We need your enthusiasm and support to keep this going.
Hey,
so
America is
thank
what,
you, man.
what it's all about.
That's what it's all about. This country,
All about
man. What's your name?
America. DJ.
DJ. Good to see you, man.
Yeah.
What's your name, brother?
Lance.
Lance. Good to see you.
Brian
Good to
and
see you.
Marge.
Brian, where are you, man?
Right here. Brian right here.
What?
Well, that's
What's the
another
bartender's
Brian.
name?
That's Jen.
Jen, how you doing? Jen, everybody here before we head out, thank you for having me here. We'll get everybody whatever drink they want. One drink on us. We'll pay for it before we head out. Happy Veterans Day. Just honor our veterans today. Let's celebrate that. If you're left in the room, round of applause for the United States of America and our vets.
God bless.
Thank
God
you.
bless.
Thank you, guys. We appreciate you guys. Oh, thank you. I love that. I love that. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that, guys. Good to see you, man. Lance, you got to spread the message for our country and the community, man.
Always do.
Veterans Day is something we celebrate, so it's good stuff, man.
Love you, brother.
Thank you. Good to see you guys.
You too, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
I want to be on your campaign. I've talked to the guys
We'd love
outside.
that. The next 60 days is the whole ball game.
All right, man.
I appreciate it. How are we doing on time for the next one? We're good? Okay, good to hang for a little bit? That sounds good. Thank you.
So you can check the watch, I'll help out. Absolutely. I do this all day long.
Cool.
Yeah, something like that.
Cool. What's your name, guys? How are you?
Hi,
What's
good.
your
How
name?
are you? I'm Pam.
Pam, good to see you. What's your name? What's your name? Chuck. Chuck, good to see you. Who are you rooting for?
I don't even know who's on.
Oh, you're not? Okay. Got Alabama fans over here.
I'm rooting for beer.
Yeah, it sounds like a reasonable thing to do at a bar.
I love Ohio.
It's a good place. Born and raised, and we live in Columbus now.
What do you think of Joe Burrow in walk-on Iowa?
Oh, you did?
What do you think of Joe Burrow?
Joe Burrow is, well, I'm a Bengals guy. Well, you're from Virginia originally, yeah. Well, it's the Buckeyes they're holding a tenuous #1, so see if we can't keep that up.
Oh, yeah, Buckeyes are great.
Yeah, in good shape.
Number one?
It's right now. It's hanging by the threads. We'll see you guys. Thank you, guys. Take it easy, guys. Thank you, man. Good seeing you. Good seeing you guys. Yeah, thank you. Love that hat, brother. Love that hat. Good to see you, man.
My wife, Leanne.
Leanne, good to see you. Good to see you, Leanne.
Vivek Ramaswamy also drew attention over the past week by calling for Republican National Committee Chair Ronna McDaniel to resign. Here's what he told reporters earlier in Hillsborough, New Hampshire, and her response in a CNN interview the following day.
You've been vocal about wanting Ronna McDaniel to step down, to resign. Who would you like to see in that position? And then also, why would you want to do the next Republican debate if it's put on by the Republican Party?
It doesn't belong to Ronna McDaniel. Somebody asked me that question afterwards. They said, why did you go on her stage? My answer is, it's not her stage. She acts like the party belongs to her. It doesn't. It was shameful. The press reported that she was saying in the audience, while she was booing me at other parts of the debate on stage, that I wouldn't get another cent from the RNC. She's proving my point about the corruption. She's proving the point because it's not her money. It's not her stage. It belongs to the voters of this country. And so I'm there because I'm serving the voters with more open debate in the country, not the sausage making of partisan politics. I think it's shameful that she outright went on national TV and lied. She made a factual statement that I voted for Obama as though it was a factual statement. It's outright false. Never voted for Obama in my life. And so I think she's in many ways, even in the last 72 hours, proven the point about the failures of the Republican Party that are raised on that stage. So there's an RNC meeting at the end of January. I think she needs to resign in the immediate term before that meeting so that there can be a clean slate selection of the leadership of the RNC. I believe in meritocracy. You all have heard me say it throughout this campaign. I'm against affirmative action. I'm against race-based quotas. I'm against quota systems. I criticize the left for being anti-meritocratic. But I can't credibly criticize the left for being anti-meritocratic if we are operating under this myth that Ronna McDaniel is somehow the best possible person we can put up to run the RNC. When you look at the record of losing in 2018, 2020, 2022, 2023, all being disasters for the Republican Party, how can we possibly say, and then look at our behaviors of the last few days, how can we possibly say that this is the best person we could put up to run this party? That's a joke. It's a farce. And I think any Republican that isn't openly acknowledging that truth while criticizing the left for being anti-meritocratic isn't honest.
Yeah, last I checked, I wasn't running for president. You know, he's at 4%. He's looking for headlines. I think what Republicans really want to hear from our candidates right now in terms of headlines is how are we going to take on Joe Biden? How are we going to take on the border, crime, fentanyl, restore our kids' education, what's happening with Israel? There are so many things that Republican voters, Democrat voters, independent voters want to hear from our candidates. So he can do that. That's okay. But I will continue to say to everyone, we should be taking on Democrats, not each other. This circular firing squad, this attacking other Republicans, like we saw with Kevin McCarthy, like we've been seeing over and over again, it is hurting us. And we have a map in 2024 where we can win the White House, take back the Senate, and win the House.
Another GOP presidential hopeful took his campaign abroad. Former New Jersey Governor Christie flew to Israel, where he toured a kibbutz that was attacked by Hamas on October 7th and met with victims of that day's attacks.
What Israel currently does is to bring security to their residents. This is the #1 goal and mission of any state, to secure the lives of our citizens. And we need to do it until we finish. So we hear from time to time people say, ceasefire. If we ceasefire now, they win. These people who made these atrocities and killed so many of us have won. And terror organizations throughout the world are watching. What will Israel and what will the world respond to what happened on October 7th? So we are very fortunate to have you, Mr. Governor, coming here to be with us, to stand alongside America's ally, Israel. And we are very fortunate to have you as our closest and most important ally in the world. And we thank you for that.
Thank you, Speaker, thank you. Look, I came here because I wanted to see this for myself. I think no matter what reports you can get from media or from other sources, to be able to walk through a neighborhood like this and see what was done to the people, to still be able to walk into one of these homes and smell the death still a month later is something that I think the American people need to know and hear directly from someone who has seen it themselves. I felt that way about going to Ukraine 3 months ago, and I learned a great deal there. And more than anything else, I want the people of Israel to know that there are hundreds of millions of Americans who stand with them, who understand the atrocities that were committed, and why in the future we need to stand absolutely shoulder to shoulder with Israel, no daylight between the American people and the people of Israel. And leaders in our country need to see this for themselves, because you can't, just from this, you can't really understand it until you see it. And so I intend to go back to the U.S. and talk about this regularly, so that the American people who are being asked to sacrifice and to help Israel financially and militarily will know that what they're doing is not only a noble effort on their part, but also what friends do for friends. And America has no greater friend in the world than Israel, and we need to make sure that we refresh that friendship at times of peril like this. So that's why I'm here. I appreciate the speaker spending all the time that he's spending with me today for me to see it. I appreciate all the men and women of the IDF and the police who are continuing to restore security and safety to the people of Israel. They deserve their territorial integrity. They deserve to live in safety and security, and to know that this type of awful attack will not be replicated.
Christie was also in Washington this week. That's where C-SPAN captured this exchange at the Hudson Institute between the Republican presidential hopeful and a former federal employee who asked about his one-time support for former President Donald Trump.
So I have worked in the federal government for nearly 25 years. I worked for Homeland Security. I took a stand when President Trump was elected. I didn't like what was going on within that department. I did what I was asked to do as a federal employee, speak truth to power. Governor, I was fired for blowing the whistle on national security issues. I lost my family, okay? But I didn't lose my dignity. Sir, you were part of that administration. As much as I want to be there for you now, how can I be here? How can I cast a ballot for you when you were an enabler? I'm sorry, but that's,
okay.
that's
I
the
think
word.
you got the question.
I think
now?
I got the gist.
Yeah.
Look, elections are choices. And I made a choice in 2016 that I didn't want Hillary Clinton to be president of the United States. And I tried to beat Donald Trump in the primary. I want you to remember, he was not my first choice to be president. I was my first choice. That didn't work out. But it was a mistake. I don't know. I don't know how old you are. You look about my age. I don't know if you've never made any mistakes in your life. I suspect you probably have. I think the difference is, do you admit your mistakes? And you know, anybody else who claims a purity test on any issue politically in our country, be happy to have the conversation with you and see if you pass it. But I think what matters more is once you realize you've made a mistake, what do you do about it? I'm not standing up there trying to cozy up to him. I'm not standing there trying to rationalize his conduct. I'm not standing there saying I'm going to pardon him or I'd support him if he were a convicted felon. So, yeah, if it's a purity test, I think that the majority, the overwhelming majority of our party will fail it. But
No, you cannot. No, you cannot.
I can't get in a debate today, but if you qualify, get 80,000 donors, I'll get you on the stage and I'll debate you then.
This week, New Hampshire made official its January 23, 2024 presidential primary date. That means the state will retain its first-in-the-nation primary status, but also fall out of compliance with Democratic National Committee rules, which mandate South Carolina hold the first primary in 2024. As a result, President Joe Biden won't be appearing on the Granite State's Democratic primary ballot. Emerson College polling's Spencer Kimball talked to C-SPAN about how that's causing confusion for Democratic voters in New Hampshire.
Well, New Hampshire has moved up their primary date to January 23rd. And because of that, the Democrats have pulled their delegates. And so Joe Biden isn't technically running in the state. So in our survey, we didn't put him in the poll. We left him as a write-in option. And he still got about 28% of the electorate to write him in. But as you mentioned, about 44% of voters didn't know what to do in that situation when they looked at the ballot and his name wasn't there. And so over the next couple of months, it'll be interesting to watch the Biden team if they try to start a write-in campaign or if they just leave New Hampshire as is and move on to the other states. In all of the other states from South Carolina across to California, he's still well over 60%. And in our previous polling in New Hampshire, he was well north of 60%, close to 70%. But that's when we actually had him listed. When he won't be listed on the ballot, it seems that the voters are a little confused at this time. And they're going to need a little direction on what to do.
Democratic Congressman Dean Phillips is one of President Biden's primary challengers who has been campaigning in New Hampshire. That included this recent stop at New England College in Henniker, where he held a town hall and answered policy questions.
Thank you for stepping up.
Just say your name if you would. If you just say your name, I like kind of knowing names.
Yeah. I have a 24-year-old daughter who graduated with her undergrad and master's, and I have a daughter who's a senior in college. She's 21. And my question to you, so first of all, thank you.
Thank you.
And my question is, how do you approach decision-making?
Great question. Irina. So I've served in both the business world. I've served in the nonprofit world. I was the chair of a large health system in Minnesota. I was a regent at a university in Minnesota. And now I've served in government. And I've been very consistent about how I make decisions, starting with the fact that I don't know it all. Have you ever heard a politician say that? Probably not. The other thing is I've never walked in any of your shoes, and you've never walked in mine, which means that the only way to make good decisions when you're leading an enterprise or the United States government or sitting in the most powerful seat in the entire world, you have to surround yourself with a diversity of people, which is why when I'm the president, I will not just have a cabinet of a bunch of people who see things exactly like me, who have the same political perspectives as me, because that's dangerous in this day and age. You must be surrounded by people of different perspectives who have the authority, the space and place to offer their ideas and to debate them, so that I hear the most extreme position on the left and the most on the right. I do my own homework, and I want the best and brightest of all perspectives around me before I make a decision. That's exactly how I've done it my entire life, and exactly how I will do it as president. I'm just afraid that we recently have had presidents that only want people who see it the same way. There's nothing more dangerous than that right now. It's a very simple philosophy, but it's also the most important way to lead, and that's exactly how I do it. Oh, and just say your name. Nice hat.
Hi, I'm Gabe. And given the background of today's incident in Texas, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but there was a large chemical explosion. And earlier this year, we had a massive train derailment in Ohio. I want to ask, what sort of industrial regulations do you want to put in place in order to mitigate any sort of further disasters that could take place?
Outstanding question. I'm so glad you asked this, because in the case of train derailments, perfect example. There have been tragedies in Canada, there have been in the US. The rail system in the United States is a multi-billion-dollar industry, extraordinarily successful. And yet, it is the responsibility of townships and municipalities typically to provide safety at railroad crossings. I think that's absurd. I think that's absurd. They are making boatloads, billions of dollars using these right-of-ways through our towns, through our states, and it's the responsibility of local taxpayers to ensure that cars don't hit that train. It should be their responsibility. And way too often there are disasters, not natural, man-made disasters from lack of responsibility, poor maintenance, and it somehow falls on all of us as taxpayers to clean up the mess. Chemicals, pollution, derailments, and I'm sick of it. This goes back to what I just said earlier. But let me tell you, these massive industries have really smart, strong people who make lots of money, that come in their fancy clothes to our offices and explain to us why this has to stay the way it is. And then they show up at nice steakhouses at night with their white envelopes in their pockets to hand out to everybody. I've never been to one of those dinners because I don't take the money. But that's the problem. And you want to ask how we're going to fix it? You're going to have someone in the White House who doesn't care about their money, who doesn't care about their education and prestige and fancy suits, who cares about the fact that it's just not fair the way it's working right now. And if you are a person of great success, you are a company of great success, you have a responsibility to keep your people safe, to keep them well-fed and well-housed and well-cared for, and the communities in which you do business, the same thing. That's how you change it. It is not rocket science. We simply turned over the keys to the wealthy and the well-connected. And let me tell you, I know that because I have been one of them, and I'm sick of it. It's going to be the ruin of this country. And I think your question is outstanding. I don't know the details of the chemical explosion, but rest assured, when I do, I will speak the truth about who should be responsible and how we don't let those things happen again. Promise. Thank you. How about this side of the room? Oh, my favorite documentarian.
Hi, my name is Johnny. I am a first-year student here at NNEC.
My question is, in Congress, you said that you don't take any of the money, but you are one of the wealthiest men in Congress. You've been fortunate enough to have great wealth in your life and your community. What would you do as far as adding taxation to people who are more fortunate to give to people who are not as fortunate?
Totally wonderful question. I believe it's the responsibility of people like me to share more. I also think it's the responsibility of our government to ensure that those who share more know that their money's being used well. And that's why I want to do both. Who wants to share money or give money or invest money in an enterprise that uses it poorly, doesn't know how to pay its loans back, right? Misuses it, and frankly, gives most of it to wealthy people already, you know? So I think both should be true at once. I think we need a higher estate tax. I think we should close what they call the carried interest loophole that makes hedge fund managers basically pay much lower taxes than any of you in this room. I think we need a much higher minimum wage, by the way. And yes, I think that those of great success, both corporations, we should raise the corporate income tax rate that was dropped below what the companies even had asked for during the Trump administration. And yes, those of great, massive success should want to share more, but must share more. But also, we have got to spend better. And I need to tie your question to something that I would do as president. I think we have to start looking at our federal budget very differently. Right now, every year we just add a little bit more money to basically everything. The question isn't what is working, what is not, what's important, what maybe is less so. It's just how much more are we going to add. In business, you do something typically called zero-based budgeting, where you look at what is important, what will that require in terms of resources, both people and money? What does that mean we might not be able to do if we do that well? And then you make the decisions and do it appropriately. We just keep adding money to it. I would employ zero-based budgeting. I think it's imperative. I would hire a common sense czar to serve in the White House who would look at every federal program and just tell us what doesn't make sense, right? How can we do that better? There are times where the private sector can do things much better than the public sector. There are many states, you have one right here, New Hampshire. Your liquor board, your liquor stores, they're government owned, right? That's pretty strange in a democracy like ours where capitalism reigns, right? I think there are times where government should get out of the business and let the private sector create jobs and manage it more effectively and efficiently based on the market. The government should be doing the same thing. We spend $2 trillion a year more than we take in. We have $33 trillion in debt, which we can accommodate. But we cannot accommodate the $800 billion a year that we're going to have to be spending on debt service. That's the interest. So if you all have a credit card, I'm sure some of you do, and then you pay these massive interest rates, which by the way is another problem. You shouldn't pay those ridiculous 18, 20% rates. But that's what the government's doing right now. We're paying massive interest to the bondholders that finance our debt, meaning we have no money left anymore to pay for the future. It's all going to paying for the past. So yes, we should have those of great success contribute more. Those of more modest success, I think, should have to pay less. I come from a state, Minnesota, where there's no tax on clothing and there's no tax on groceries, because it's one of the ways to create a more progressive tax system. And that's, I think, how our country has to start looking at things, because we will be ruined if the inequities continue to grow at the rate they are.
Next, insight from Jacob Rubashkin, a reporter and analyst for Inside Elections. He talked about recent retirements from the House, and Senate will impact Democratic and Republican plans to win both chambers in 2024.
We've seen a number of House incumbents in recent days announce their retirements or that they aren't going to seek re-election to the House. Some of those were expected. Abigail Spanberger in Virginia's 7th District, for instance, has long telegraphed that she's been interested in running for governor rather than running for re-election in her swing House district. Some of them were more of a surprise. Congressman Ken Buck in Colorado, a number of Texas members like Kay Granger and Michael Burgess also heading for the exits. Just today, Dan Kildee in Michigan, another swing district Democrat, going to retire rather than seek re-election. Jennifer Wexton in Virginia, and of course, George Santos in New York, the embattled Republican, also not seeking re-election, potentially facing expulsion from the House as well. So a number of representatives headed for the exits, especially in the wake of a pretty dysfunctional couple of weeks in the House. Democrats are retiring at a faster clip from competitive House districts, which I think does present a problem for the party as they look to increase their ranks next year and reclaim that House majority. just today, of course, Dan Kildee in Michigan, that's a district that Trump only lost by a point or two in the 2020 election. Virginia's 7th district, another very swing seat, in addition to some of the seats we already knew were going to be open, like California's 47th district, where Katie Porter has been running for Senate. She only won her reelection by 3 points last cycle. So quite a few Democrats from vulnerable seats not seeking reelection. On the other side of the ledger, Santos is probably the most high-profile Republican in a swing seat not seeking reelection. But by and large, a lot of the members of the Republican majority who are top targets are going to be running again next year.
You mentioned the chaos in Congress over the past few weeks. Is either party seeing any sort of advantage amongst public sentiment over all of that?
I think that Democrats are excited to use a dysfunction argument against Republicans in the elections next year. It's kind of hard in terms of public sentiment to gauge what is really breaking through to voters right now, especially because overall voters have such a negative opinion of Congress. Congress's approval rating floats in the mid 20%, more unpopular than Trump, Biden, either political party. Voters really are unhappy with the way Congress is acting and have been for quite some time. I think that ultimately most of the dysfunction we've seen has come from the Republican side of the caucus. The fight over who got to be Speaker of the House, the ousting of Kevin McCarthy, the 3 speakers that weren't Steve Scalise, Jim Jordan, Tom Emmer, before finally arriving at Mike Johnson. And then, in more recent days, the physical altercations that we've seen on the House side in the hallways, in Senate hearings. I think Republicans are really struggling to hold together their majority coalition. And so they have more vulnerability there when it comes to messaging, not just because they are the more dysfunctional party at the moment, but because they're in the majority, right? And voters look to the majority to govern in a way that they don't necessarily look to the minority party to govern. You have more leeway when you're not in control. And right now, Republicans are in control.
And on the Senate, we're also seeing some retirements. Joe Manchin, the most recent one, Democrat from West Virginia. What's the balance of power battle in 2024 looking like on the Senate side?
It's a little difficult to quantify at the moment because Senator Sinema in Arizona has left the Democratic Party, does not caucus with either party. For organizational purposes, she probably counts as a Democrat, but she also hasn't said if she's going to run for re-election in Arizona as an independent. Simplified terms, Democrats have a 51-49 majority in the Senate right now. That means Republicans need to flip 2 seats to win an outright majority, or flip 1 seat plus winning the White House, and then the vice president would be able to break ties in their favor. Now, what does Manchin's retirement do? Well, it does a couple of things. First, it cedes the West Virginia Senate seat to the Republicans. Joe Manchin was the only Democrat who even had a chance at holding that seat in what has become a very Republican state. And with him out of the picture, that seat is going to flip. So all of a sudden, it's no longer starting at a 51-49 baseline. We're starting at a 50-50 baseline. Republicans are up 1 already looking at West Virginia. So if they win the White House and everything else stays the same, Republicans take back control of the Senate. If Biden wins re-election, they would need to flip another seat. They have quite a few opportunities, most notably Montana and Ohio, which are both states that Trump carried in 2020, states that the Republican nominee will probably carry in 2024, and Democratic incumbents are highly vulnerable. But beyond that, they have opportunities in a number of very close presidential states, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Nevada, and Michigan, chief among them.
Virginia Democrat Abigail Spanberger is one of the House members who announced a retirement this week. She became the first declared candidate of any party to declare in the 2025 race for Virginia governor. Here's the video she released announcing her campaign.
From our stunning landscapes to our diverse communities, Virginia is a lot of things. But most importantly, it's home. I'm Abigail Spanberger. I grew up here in Central Virginia. And now my husband Adam and I are raising our 3 girls here, teaching them, like my parents taught me, that if you see something wrong, do everything in your power to right it. It's why I committed to a life of service for our country and for the people of Virginia. First in law enforcement, then at CIA, working to keep our country safe. And today in Congress, where despite dangerous polarization, I have found ways to bring people together and focus on what really matters. Providing veterans with the support they need.
The group of veterans who need help is military firefighters. Abigail Spanberger's Firefighters Protection Act would change that.
Supporting small businesses so they can grow. Assisting families and communities struggling with addiction.
The Summer Barrow Act.
It's the 12 different grant programs to fight addiction.
These programs are going to save lives. Somebody else is not going to go through what we went through.
Proving that to get things done, people must come first. But today, we find ourselves at a crossroads. Our country and our Commonwealth are facing fundamental threats to our rights, our freedoms, and to our democracy.
Legislative battle set to unfold in Virginia.
Virginians are at risk of losing the right to reproductive freedom.
One Virginia county to remove certain books from its curriculum.
The chaos that stunned the world.
Government shutdown.
While some politicians in Richmond focus on banning abortion in books, what they're not doing is helping people. I know how to bring people together and get real things done that improve lives. That's why I'm running for governor. Because when we rise above the chaos and division, we can focus on what matters most to Virginians. Lowering prescription drug prices, growing the middle class, lowering costs and easing inflation. No more using teachers and our kids as political pawns. It's about focusing on recruiting and retaining teachers so all of our kids can succeed. And stopping extremists from shredding women's reproductive rights. Even in this moment of deep division, we can seize the opportunity. I am running to serve all Virginians in every community across our Commonwealth because it's about time we do what's right for everyone. And that's what matters most.
A reminder, this program and all of C-SPAN's Campaign 2024 coverage can be found online at cspan.org/campaign.